You're listening to Following On with me, Neil Manthorp, alongside former England fast bowler Steve Harmison. And if you have missed any of the show and you want to catch up, you can download the podcast from the Following On feed, available as always via the free talkSPORT app or wherever you get your podcasts. It's that time of year where we invite once again Lawrence Booth, Wisden Almanac editor, to Lawrence, I'm going to hand you the floor. I'm really keen to talk about your editor's notes this year, which have made headlines around the cricket playing world. And I know that's not the point, but absolutely brilliant notes this year.
Thank you.
We do need to start on your 5 cricketers of the year and the criteria. Every year we get why are they chosen? So the criteria and your 5 cricketers of the year, please, sir.
Yes, it's the emphasis on the previous English summer, and you can't have been chosen before. And the 5 cricketers are Gus Atkinson, Liam Dawson, Sophie Ecclestone, Jamie Smith, and Dan Worrell.
And a word about them. Why?
Atkinson was quite easy. First test here, it was Jimmy Anderson's farewell, but he stole all the headlines with 12 wickets against West Indies. Then he took a 5 for here against Sri Lanka, scored 100 from number 8. I mean, it was ludicrous, really. And though it was outside the parameters for our award, he then took a hat-trick in New Zealand, Wellington. So he had a pretty good first year as a Test cricketer, 52 wickets at 22. Liam Dawson is, though he hasn't played for England for a few years, has become probably county cricket's premier all-rounder. He averaged 25 with the ball last season for Hampshire with his left-arm spin, 50-odd wickets, and nearly scored 1,000 runs at nearly 60 with the bat. So that followed on from an incredible summer the previous year. He was quite an easy one as well. Sophie Ecclestone was an interesting one because, of course, England's women had that bad Ashes tour in the winter, but in the summer, which is what matters for our award, she took 26 wickets at an average of under 10. And England went through the summer unbeaten, and she went at 3 and over. It was white ball cricket all the way. She became the leading T20 international wicket taker for England. So that again seemed quite an easy one for us. Jamie Smith, there'd been this ongoing psychodrama about the England wicket-keeping position. Was it Bairstow? Was it Folkes? Was it even Joss Buttler? Jamie Smith came in and ended it straight away. 70 on debut against West Indies at Lord's, 95 at Edgbaston, and a brilliant 100 against Sri Lanka at Old Trafford, and then a cameo 39 in the second innings in a tricky chase. So he scored quickly, and he ended that debate as if the debate no longer existed. And finally, Dan Worrell, who an Australian who's now qualified to play for England and helped Surrey to their three-peat, their 3rd successive championship, which was the first time a county had done that since Yorkshire in the 60s. And he took 50-plus wickets at an average of 16 and was basically blowing away teams with the new ball on a regular basis and was a central pillar of their hat-trick. So 5 good choices, I hope.
Yeah, five good choices. Was there anybody else in the mix? I can't think of too many that would be in the mix that haven't already been elected before. I know Manners wants to talk about the editorial note, so I'll leave that one for him. One of my former teammates, and obviously the great late Graham Thorpe. There was a piece in about him from Alex Stewart, who's just had a recent bereavement from a family member. That was a wonderful article about a great player and a great man.
Yeah, it was a touching piece by Alec. I spoke to him for that, and he was he was very close to him. He captained him, of course, for England, and made the point that he always scored runs when England needed him most. He wasn't a 400 for 3 man; he was a 40 for 3 man, and averaged sort of mid-40s at a time when England was struggling. I know that you came in sort of towards the end of his career, but in the 90s when Thorpe made his debut with 100 against Australia at Trent Bridge, they were struggling. So he was very adaptable. Famously scored 100 in Pakistan with 1 boundary in it because he was just nurdling the spinners around, but could also attack Australia's quick bowlers at the whacker. In answer to the start of your question, it's difficult. There's always a couple who miss out from the 5. I mean, John Simpson was an interesting one at Sussex, moved from Middlesex to Sussex in his mid-30s. And has had a great start to this season as well with a couple of hundreds. He's averaging something like 80 since he's moved to Sussex. And I've had a couple of people on social media say, well, why no John Simpson? Inevitably, they're Sussex fans. He's like, well, look, someone's got to miss out, I'm afraid. And that's how we want it. We want numbers 6, 7 and 8 to feel slightly aggrieved because you want a good kind of debate going. But he was one of the ones.
Lawrence, you haven't held held back at all in your criticism of the ICC. You said that they now forego the right, paraphrasing, to claim that they're governing the game remotely, or seriously or authentically. I really am paraphrasing now, but you've just said, the big three have become the big one. England and Australia have utterly acquiesced to the power of the BCCI and India. And you've said a number of things that I think a lot of people think but haven't had the courage to say.
Well, yeah, let's see how my career goes over the next year. I mean, I start with the point that about Jay Shah becoming literally overnight, moving from the honorary secretariat of the BCCI to the chairmanship of the ICC, and what that meant was that he went from an organisation that was scuppering the Champions Trophy because of India's refusal to go to Pakistan to an organisation that was trying to organise the Champions Trophy. And that, to me, just spoke of an unserious sport. You can't administer the game that way when there are so many sort of crossed wires, basically. It's nothing against India. We're all grateful for the money that India generate. We say this countless times, that the money that their vast TV audience generates basically props up the game. But what cricket has now done, and with England and Australia letting this happen, they have allowed this Indian monopoly to take place. And it's one thing to be economically powerful; it's another to be administratively omnipotent, and that's what we've got with India at the moment. And my question is really whether that is a healthy situation for the game to be in. Is a monopoly healthy in any organisation? And what decisions will we see made over the next few years under Shah's leadership that will dissuade me from that, hopefully not too cynical perspective?
Lawrence, I'm forgive me for mentioning your private life, but I really want to make this public because, a few people have said to me, what has Lawrence Booth got against India? And I always say, sorry, you do realise his wife is Indian, don't you? His 3 children are half Indian. He's got nothing against India. He's got a problem with the way that the game is administered and the power, and as I say, the acquiescence of countries who are dependent on India. And you've often made the point that the BCCI ought to recognise the benefit that they would derive from not being quite so omnipotent.
Yes, so we have to appeal in a way to their self-interest, which is to say that if the game withers in countries below the so-called big three, that will not be a great thing for India. There'll be fewer overseas players in the IPL. I know that young Indian players are making a big splash at the moment. And international cricket will be more boring because it will just be England, India, and Australia playing each other in an endless round of 5-game series. We almost already have that, by the way. So no, I do find it weird that people take this as an anti-Indian thing. It is a very specific thing. It's a holding a group of cricket administrators, basically a few men in suits, to account. They could be any nationality. They happen to be Indian. Why people get so defensive about that is absolutely beyond me. But I think it needs saying because, okay, let's take the Champions Trophy. BCCI signed off on that schedule about 3 years ago. Why then would they wait until 2 or 3 months before the tournament to mess things up for Pakistan? Well, I think really we know what the answer is to that question. The BCCI have become hopelessly politicised. Shah Daruga wrote a very good piece of Wisden last year on that process and the extent to which it informed the 2023 World Cup in India, which was played the final took place at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. The Prime Minister himself turned up hoping to present the trophy to Rohit Sharma. He kind of thrust it at Pat Cummins by himself on the stage. In the end, it was all slightly embarrassing. It wasn't the coronation that he or Jay Shah, then in charge at the BCCI, wanted. Jay Shah is the son of Amit Shah, who's the Minister for Home Affairs, the second most powerful man in Indian politics. So the politics of the ruling BJP in India are intertwined with what the BCCI are doing. They say, well, the government won't let us go to Pakistan. This is very expedient, this argument. It suits Indian cricket not to go to Pakistan because I don't think they wish Pakistan cricket well. Why do they still ban Pakistan players from the IPL, for example, since 2008 when Pakistan teams have toured India for World Cups? It doesn't make any sense to ban individual players from the IPL. It's just vindictive. So I think there are genuine questions to be asked of the BCCI. We all want them We know that they run the game. We just want them to run it in a responsible and reasonable way.
Are we going down the same road in this country, Lawrence? Because I had a rant 2 weeks ago when the 100 schedule and the 100 investors and talking about the TV deal. And I'm like, hold on, Sky, whether you love Sky, you hate Sky, you want terrestrial TV to have it. But Sky, I know the BBC have got the 100 rights as well. But I mean, if it's their tournament, I mean, they've given up a hell of a lot, Sky, in organising that 100 tournament, along with the ECB. And it just seems as though, be careful. You've wrote something in there about the investors with the home counties, with the board, with everything that goes with it. I mean, Sky's been very, very good to English cricket over the course of the last 25 years. And if we push them away, where's cricket going to be in this country if the new owners come in and start getting their way in the same fact?
Yeah, it's a fair question. I mean, we're all dazzled by the money that has come in from the sale of the franchises. The whole thing's been valued at nearly £1 billion, for goodness sake. You think that English cricket is about £200 million in debt if you add up all the counties' debt. The ECB's annual turnover last year was something like 24 million. So close to £1 billion is a ludicrous figure for counties that have been barely scraping 2 pennies together. There is a fair question to be asked, I think, about what happens when this money starts to run out. Richard Gould, the ECB chief exec, has spoken about safeguarding the domestic rebel game for 20 to 25 years. He may well be right, but maybe it's just a sticking plaster. We don't know. All countries are now involved in this race for white ball competitions that bankroll them. Of course, with the obvious consequence that red ball cricket is getting crunched. I've written about South Africa in the World Test Championship a bit. Nothing against South Africa, did incredibly well to recover from sending that C team to New Zealand and then to reach the final. But in the South Africa's forthcoming home season, it consists of 5 T20s against West Indies, and this is the team that's reached the final of the World Test Championship. We're not as a game taking it seriously. So yes, in England, look, people still watch Test cricket in England. England aren't a problem in that respect. But I hear what you say about where things are going with 100.
I wanted to finish on the World Test Championship, actually, Lawrence, because there isn't a single South African cricket lover, a supporter, who doesn't acknowledge that they had a very easy route, which involved not playing Australia or England through to the final. Again, I'm paraphrasing, but you make the point that the World Test Championship, as it stands, is a deformed monster. Or, well, actually, the words you use are not fit for purpose. And I completely agree with that. All I would say is that the game in countries outside of the big three is better off for this monster in its current form. But what you're saying is just sort it out. It is important to have the World Test Championship. You suggest 4 years, all 9 teams play each other, home and away. Do it properly. Grow up and do it properly. Is that right?
That's right. It's not an anti-South African thing. I hope that it doesn't get interpreted as English whinging. Like Ben Stokes' comments in New Zealand. Oh, sour grapes. Grow up, guys. This is a dispassionate, impartial take on what Test cricket needs to survive. We need something that you don't need a calculator to work out the standings. The teams are playing different numbers of teams against different length series. They're in different length series, and there's a percentage. Your score is a percentage of what you might get. It's totally baffling for the average fan. It's going to put them off. So well done to South Africa for reaching the final. I'm glad they have, and I hope they beat Australia, because we need South Africa to get back to what they were, 10 years ago as a Test nation. They're pretty well the best team in the world for a long time and didn't get the credit they deserve for that. But it's a total shambles. No other sport would tolerate this mess that the World Test Championship is, and it's not English sour grapes to make that point.
Lawrence Booth, absolute pleasure. Congratulations on yet another edition, and all strength for the next one.
Thanks, Manners. Thanks, Army.